Borderline personality disorder. I am officially crazy. Yes, I've decided that I am officially crazy. I guess I was already officially crazy though, so nothing new. There's a bug. Good news. I have received an automobile, which allows me the freedom of being able to leave the house and make it to town, not go crazy like Jack Nicholson in The Shining. Little problem, the half shaft and the CV axle needs to be replaced on the front end. With the confidence that I said that, you can see how car knowledgeable I am. I was trying desperately to remember what needs to be replaced on the front end and not mispronounce it too bad. It's definitely the half shaft, and some kind of axle. I'm thinking CV axle. I do not have money flowing from my rectum. There is no way I can afford to have a mechanic do this repair work. There's no way I can afford to do the repair work myself. I'm still going to have to try to find a way to get the money to get the parts to do the repair work. Yeah, I can't pay somebody to do this. Sadly, it's not one of those things you can just ignore. I did do a little research and figured out that the half shaft connects to the wheel, which connects to the transmission. Well, it's the wheel, then you got your half shaft, and then the transmission. Half shaft's in between it. I believe that what caused the failure was that the boot got worn out. The boot became worn out, causing the grease to leak out. There was no lubrication, and that is what has caused the failure. When you drive the automobile, you just hear a loud grinding. It's a horrible, horrible, scary sound. It is still drivable. For all we have is a really loud grinding noise at this point. Before it completely fails, though, I do believe that steering will be affected. We'll start to get a wobble. We don't have a wobble yet, so it's still drivable. Once it goes, though, the wheel will no longer be able to move. Well, I mean, at least with the transmission, the wheel might still move. You'd be unable to drive, though. Pushing the accelerator, it wouldn't move the wheel. Once it goes, you're pretty much stuck where you are. Not something you really want to do. Definitely something I want to get replaced. And as you may be able to tell, I'm not really sure of what happens when it fails. Maybe it fails and the tire snaps in half, the car does a header into the concrete, followed by 13 flips down the road until it blows up in a fiery explosion. I don't know. Some would say, but Mr. BPD, you're always talking about how you have suicidal thoughts and you don't like life and you just want to move to the great beyond. For all of you, you are correct. There is too much mystery to be risking driving a car that once this thing goes, who knows what will happen. My luck is I will be maimed horribly. no longer be able to walk or have any motor functions, and then that's going to be worse than I already am. If I could guarantee that when this half shaft were to go, the car would do the 13 flips and then a fiery explosion, then I'd have no problem with it. But for all I know, when this thing goes, all that'll happen is I'll lose drive and just be stuck in the middle of the road with a bunch of people honking at me and getting all pissed. And where I live, there are no ways to get we live in one lane mountainside area, and it's not a good scene. I'm getting off topic. Point is, I'm going to have to do this repair work. Also, this car does not start. Well, it starts, but it does not. The starter has gone out. Luckily, it's a manual transmission, so you can bump start it, which is sometimes a pain in the ass. Now here is the reason I'm making this video originally, was I get this car, and I have to bump start it to get it started until I replace the starter, which I've been doing. Then I started wondering, how the hell does that work? And it drove me nuts. Once I asked the question, it just plagued me. How does bump starting a car work? Why does it work? It just started like that, just a question. And then I found myself laying in bed, not being able to sleep, wondering about it. And as I've told you, I'm not a car person. I will become a car person if I have to fix something. I'll do all the research, I'll learn how to do it, I'll get it done, but if there's no reason for me to learn it, I won't learn it. My knowledge is the extent of what I've had to deal with. I don't go learning new stuff just to learn it. So I've never had to build an engine or anything like that, so I have no idea how an engine even really starts. Never had to deal with it, never cared. I know as much as if your battery's dead, to jump start it. I could do that. I know there's a thing called an alternator and a thing called a starter. How those things interact and work, pfft, hell if I know. I have no grounds of even basic knowledge to be able to figure out this whole bump starting thing and how it functions. I break down and I finally decide to bite the bullet and just go ahead and ask somebody, because I need to know. It's driving me nuts. I ask everybody I know, and they all know that you can bump start a car, and they all have different techniques of which is better. Some like to do it in first, some like second, some like to do it in third, some like to do it in reverse. None of them, though, have any idea of why it works. They just know it works, and they just accept it. They've seen it work. I should do this. I should just accept it. Do I need to know? It works, or do I really need to know? Do I need that knowledge? Yes, I do. I'm sure if I know why that works, it's going to help me someday. So now I'm really going nuts. So I go online, figure I can find it there. All I can find is all kinds of information on how to bump start a car, but nothing that tells me the mechanics of it. Then finally, somewhere in the deep, dark pit of the internet, I finally found one page that told me how it worked. And it was such a relief. But it was driving me completely insane. And in case you're wondering, it has to do with the fact that the engine does not, it needs electricity and to get started. But the electricity part, like the battery part, is only to run the starter. So you need the electricity to churn the starter, which then churns the crankshaft, which then starts the internal combustion, and then the engine is self-sufficient after that. It no longer needs anything. It runs on itself. So the whole push starting thing, you just do the job manually that your starter would do. So while you're pushing it, it makes the transmission move, and when you pop the clutch, the clutch plate grinds against something and it just starts up. Because really all the engine needs to be started is just to have that crankshaft moving. It's something like that. It's pretty damn close to that. You got the basic gist of it. Blew me away. Never knew. I mean, really, and you could probably drive a manual transmission car with no battery, no starter, no alternator. All that stuff's just to get it started. Maybe. I don't know. Haven't tested it. Do you know? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about? Did I get it right, or did I go to a site that just told me something completely nonsense, and I still have no clue of how bump starting a car works? I'm sure there's a mechanic or somebody out there that can tell me. Let me know in the comments section. If you haven't already subscribed, now would be the perfect opportunity to hit that subscribe button. And until next time, just keep on keeping on.
You're an umbrella pretty drink.
Where's gonna hit you?
Don't worry about fucking anything. Just start the band. Do this.
All right.
Mr. BPD here. Just wanted to throw out a quick plug for my Patreon page, where you can see exclusive content that you can't see anywhere else. All of those repairs I was talking about in the last video, well, only patrons will be able to see the grueling process that I will go through working on this automobile. For those videos will be specially put on Patreon. If you're interested, check it out. The link's in the description below.